Hello, I already made a video on adding magnetic declination calculations to my app, and I'm going to leave a link to that video right about here. Thanks to the recent preview of the Level 2 movie derp thing that I was made aware of by MC and FTFE, there was one thing that they said in that video that I thought was pretty unrealistic, which was the way that they portrayed how compasses should work. And I'm not going to go over the details that I covered in the last video, but I did want to add that I spent a little bit more time working on the code to generate the lines of declination that I project onto whatever map that I want. And this is the equirectilinear map. As you can see, it's pretty close to the official map that was developed by NOAA and NGDC and CIRES. I do have a few glitches here and there along the way that you can kind of ignore, but for the most part, everything does seem to match and everything does seem to align. They did cut off from about here to, I'd say, probably around here somewhere, but I go all the way to the poles, and here's what the other side looks like. So I would say that the code that I found online to compute the magnetic field declination is in fact correct. And here's a wiki on how the magnetic declination works. There's that same map, by the way. You can see that the magnetic lines change over time, etc. And one thing that they said in that level 2 movie thing there was that there's a north magnetic pole, but what about the south? Now, as we know, there are two magnetic poles. There's a north magnetic pole, and here is its geocoordinate, and there's also a south magnetic pole, and here is its geocoordinate. So I took these two coordinates and I added them as special points of interest in my app. So there's the north, there's the south. The red in this case would denote the north magnetic pole or the direction to the north magnetic pole, and the blue would represent the south magnetic pole or the direction to the south magnetic pole. And as we can see here, north and south are nowhere near where they should be if we lived on an equirectilinear Earth. But what if we change it to flat earthers map of choice, the azimuthal equidistant map with the north in the center? And I chose around 150 degrees longitude for a reason, and I'm going to show you the 45 degrees east as well. And so if we look at this map, we can see that the green line represents the locations on the Earth where there is no deviation between true north and magnetic north, or true south and magnetic south. The red lines indicate 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, etc. degrees towards the east, and the blue represents 5, 10, 15, so on, all the way to 175 or even 180 degrees towards the west of magnetic declination, meaning that the compass is pointing in a direction other than the direction of true north or true south. And just to make it a little bit easier, I'm just going to move this window around so that you can just barely see the magnetic declination here, and I have a little bit more room to play around with the camera locations. So what happens if we're at the North Pole? If we're at the North Pole, you can see that the compass is pointing towards the magnetic north. And as we go south, the compass continues to point towards the magnetic pole. But here, if the Earth was flat, even though we're very close to the North Magnetic Pole, why is it 15 degrees further towards the east than it should be? It should actually be pointing much closer towards the west. In fact, it should probably be about 10, 15 degrees to the west, not to the east. And that is positive, by the way. What's even telling is that as we continue to go south, and we can do that on a boat. They do build boats, and people have been known to use boats in that part of the world. And as we continue to go south, you can see that once we pass the 35, 40 degrees south latitude, where is the compass pointing? There's the North Magnetic Pole. There's the South Magnetic Pole. What magnetic pole over here or over here would cause the needle of a compass that anybody can verify for themselves point away from either of these two magnetic poles if the Earth was flat? As we keep going, it gets even worse and worse. And if we go right up to the ice wall on the flat Earth, we can see that it's not pointing anywhere near to either of these magnetic poles. If I go that should be the geolocation of Fort McMurdo. The largest Antarctic station that was built. It's actually on an island. You can go and chase that down on Google Maps. But once again, you can go get yourself a boat, get yourself a compass, and go to this geolocation right here. If the compass always points north, then why is this compass pointing away from north if the Earth was flat? And the other area that anybody can verify for themselves is around 45 degrees east. As one goes more and more towards the south, you can see that the compass stays fairly even at 235 degrees declination, and then very quickly as you head towards the south and towards the ice wall, it's pointing 54 degrees towards the west than it should. And once again, where are the magnetic poles that would cause the compass to point in that direction? Let's try these again on a globe Earth. So here we can see if the Earth is spherical, the south points towards the south magnetic pole, as one would expect. And as we go north again, the source of the south magnetic field gets weaker relative to the location, and the north magnetic pole gets stronger, and so the compass aligns itself more with the magnetic field that is stronger and points back towards that magnetic pole. And everything works just fine on a globe. And just for completeness, let's see what the Pacific Ocean compass direction tells us. Well, you can see that being closer to the north, it's pointing towards the north magnetic pole. And as we start going south, it matches what we would expect on a globe. And as we continue to go south, now the south magnetic pole is getting closer to the compass than the north magnetic pole is. And so now the compass needle is more attracted to the south magnetic pole, and it is pointing towards the south magnetic pole, just like this. And as you can see, all the way over to Fort McMurdo, and just like that, it's still working just fine. I've shown in the past how daylight doesn't work at all if the Earth was flat. And now also I can show that the magnetic fields also don't work on a flat Earth, but work just fine on a globe Earth. So if you just stick around a little bit longer, I'm going to play a few animation clips. They're going to be quite long, 10 minutes each, and hopefully you'll stick around and watch that to the end. But the talking bit of this video is pretty much going to come to an end. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again in another video soon enough. Bye for now.